President Zelensky was the first foreign dignitary to address the British Cabinet the other day, the first to do so since Bill Clinton in 1997. The event underscores the deepening ties between the UK and Ukraine and highlights the strategic importance of Western support for Ukraine in the ongoing conflict with the Russian invaders, with the Kremlin invaders, with the forces of Putin. Zelensky's invitation to address the British Cabinet signifies a strong symbolic gesture of solidarity from Keir Starmer, and Starmer's reception of Zelensky with a standing ovation reflects the UK's commitment to supporting Ukraine against Russian aggression. The act not only reinforces the political alliance, but also sends a clear message to Russia and the international community about the unity and resolve of Western nations in supporting Ukraine's sovereignty. It also sends a message, of course, to a potential Trump presidency. Zelensky's call for long-range capability to strike deeper into Russian territory is pivotal. He emphasizes the need, quote, the need for a decision about long-distance weapons, long-range, to use it. We need it very much. They're targeting our hospitals, schools. A playground was attacked yesterday. We just need to answer exactly to the point where that target came from. This plea highlights the necessity for advanced weaponry to defend Ukraine effectively and counteract Russian missile strikes on civilian infrastructure. While the UK Defence Secretary John Healey acknowledged Ukraine's right to use supplied weapons within the bounds of international humanitarian law, this stance introduces a complex debate. Allowing Ukraine to target Russian territory poses risks of escalating the conflict, potentially drawing Western nations into direct confrontation with Russia. The Kremlin's warnings about fatal consequences if Western-supplied weapons are used against Russia underscores the precarious balance that needs to be maintained. The steadfast support from the UK and the recent shifts in US policy allowing Ukraine to use long-range missiles for self-defense demonstrate a united front among Ukraine's allies. However, the concern about the US's future commitment, especially in light of potential political changes, casts a shadow long-term over strategic planning, and European leaders at the recent summit echoed these concerns, emphasizing the need for consistent and reliable support for Ukraine. The announcement of a $3.5 billion defense export finance deal and the focus on ramping up military production are significant steps towards bolstering Ukraine's defense capabilities. Starmer's commitment to double down on support for Ukraine indicates a proactive approach to ensuring that Ukraine has the necessary resources to sustain its defensive efforts. The problems really are the risk of escalation, and critics argue that providing Ukraine with capabilities to strike into Russian territory could lead to unintended escalation, increasing the likelihood of a broader conflict involving NATO countries. This delicate balance of supporting Ukraine while avoiding direct involvement in the conflict remains a contentious issue. And given the demise of the real Putin and the fact that we don't know who we're actually dealing with in Russia, it's a very ambiguous and a very uncertain future. And the problem really is that the Russians are thinking, what would Putin have done, rather than what will he do? What is he doing? Because he isn't there to respond. He's in a fridge, popping up the Smedley peas, the Smedley frozen peas in a Smeg fridge, or the Soviet equivalent. And the continuous and financial and military support for Ukraine imposes significant economic burdens on donor countries. That's the other problem. There is also the political challenge of maintaining public and political support for sustained aid, particularly when the social media is infiltrated and invaded by Russian trolling. And there's a political challenge to maintain that public and political support for sustained aid in the face of domestic issues and competing international priorities, as we saw, for example, with the rise of the Israeli Gazan war, and the way that pulled focus away from the Ukraine problems. Zelensky's address to the UK Cabinet underscores the critical juncture at which the Ukraine conflict stands. While the support for Ukraine from Western allies is crucial for Ukraine's defence and sovereignty, the complexities of international law, the risk of escalation, the need for sustained commitment highlight the many challenges that lay ahead. The historic nature of Zelensky's address and the responses from Western leaders reflect both the urgency of the situation and the collective resolve to support Ukraine in its struggle for peace and security and uncertainty about the way ahead.